I want to look at the cross-sectional spinal column model today, and I'm going to split it into two sections, an anatomy part and a functional part. So let's start with the anatomy. Let's start with the white matter of the cross-section, and we're going to look at a top-down view. The white matter, we have a dorsal column, a ventral column, and lateral columns, and each of these things have different functions, which we'll discuss in a later video. This is the gray matter, and there are several structures we want to look at here. We want to look at the dorsal horn on either side, the lateral horn, the ventral horns, and what connects the two sides, the gray commissure. These are all gray matter. Remember, gray matter is unmyelinated axons, whereas white matter is myelinated axons. There are three structures that literally split the spinal column in half. You have a central column, which is right in the middle, full of cerebrospinal fluid. Then you have a dorsal median sulcus and a ventral median fissure. Now you may be wondering, how do I tell dorsal from ventral? And actually it's quite simple. The ventral median fissure tends to be very large on this model, whereas the dorsal median sulcus is not. And then you'll look, the dorsal horns are a lot longer. As we look at this, and it's not as easy to see because one half is raised higher than the other in order to show the central canal, which I'll show you in another view here just in a second. But if you look at it, try to see a butterfly. And the top part of the wing of the butterfly is very long, very big, much larger, the dorsal part, than the ventral part. I want to show this view of this model from the side because it's very easy to see this central canal that runs down right in the middle of the gray commissure. And you'll notice there's tissue on either side, and this tissue encapsulates this central canal and connects the right and left sides of the gray matter. Now let's look at the spinal nerves that attach to this spinal column, and we'll see the dorsal root is right here, and the large enlarged area of nerve tissue is the dorsal root ganglion, and then we have the ventral root of the spinal nerves, and they fuse into spinal nerves on either side. See, there's another dorsal root ganglion, the dorsal root, the ventral root, and they fuse into a spinal nerve. Just to be thorough, let's look at the blood supply to this spinal column. This is the ventral spinal vein and the ventral spinal artery. Also, this could be termed the anterior spinal artery or the anterior spinal vein. And here are your motor neurons. And the last structure I want to point out here is the dorsal vein on the dorsal side of the spinal column. And that concludes my discussion of the cross-sectional model of the spinal column.